truck was just a Ford F-150 pickup truck, and I just put a tarp over all the beer kegs in the back so the cops couldn't see that I was going over state lines with kegs of beer. And this one time I was delivering, I was delivering to Kelly's Logan House up in Wilmington. I was going up a hill in Wilmington, and the top keg, I hit a bump, and the keg popped out of the tarp, hit the ground, and it pierced the keg open. And so this beer starts flying out of the keg, and I'm going up a hill, but the way the hole went in the keg, it actually made the keg beat me up the hill. It rolled up the hill, squirting beer, and rolled past my car up a hill. I was like, oh shit, I lost $100, but it was definitely worth it to see my truck get passed by a keg of beer, you know?
Brewsing Banter Podcast. Banter Podcast. Brewsing Banter Podcast. What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Brewsing Banter Podcast. I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, is the Legendary Brew Crew. What up, fellas?
I was reading this weekend. Mama. Nah, it doesn't taste like dirt. My name is Lou Belgium, ladies and gentlemen. I'm wondering,
Does Delaware have an actual culture? This is the podcast that we talk about beer, but we also talk about a lot of things that's happening in the world. Politics, movies, anything really that comes to our mind while we're here sampling these brews. Grab a drink and pull up a chair.
Ooh, we love you, Brewsing Banter Podcast.
What up? Welcome to Brewsing Banter Podcast, where the topic is the rockin' and the brew. Well, that'd be the fuel. I'm your host, Rob G, and with me, as always, the Legendary Brew Crew. What's going on, fellas?
hello.
Is he chopped up? He must be gone.
Hi.
I know he's still there.
There it is. He's back.
This is episode 327 of Brewsing Banter Podcast.
Uh-oh.
If this is your first time joining us, where have you been at?
I can hear y'all, by the way.
A long time.
And if you are a returning bruiser and bruisette, we're glad you have found us again for another episode of Brewsing Banter Podcast, because we do have a special guest. I think it's probably one of our most requested guests that we have had, that people have asked us to have on the show. So we do have him here today. We have the co-founder of Dogfish Head Brewery out of Milton. Is it Milton, Delaware? Is it Milton?
Felton?
Milton? It's Milton. Milton, Delaware. We have
Felton.
Sam Calagione. Let me bring him in the podcast.
Welcome.
Good to be here with you guys.
Welcome.
We are glad you can join us because, like I said, you are most of the people who come on say they say two things. Either Dogfish Head is how they got into craft beer, and you should have him on your show. So we are glad we have both of them here on today. So, but before we get into all of it, we always like to know what people are drinking also. What are we drinking today? And we always start with our guests. So, Sam, what are you drinking today?
I'm drinking a Dogfish Sea Quench Ale. So this is our fruited sour made with sea salt and black limes. I'm drinking this because I'm joining you guys from Dogfish Head, Maine, not Dogfish Head, Delaware. Today I'm up in Maine, which is where our namesake of our company is from, but our physical company, our roots are very much in Sussex County, Delaware. And this beer has sea salt both from the Chesapeake in it and from Maine. So I thought it was appropriate, since you guys are down in Delaware and I'm up in Maine, to have a little bit of both of the places that are dear to my heart in one beer.
All right.
What you said the fruit was?
It's lime juice, black limes, which are used a lot in Middle Eastern cooking, and then there's also different sea salts in it.
I need a black lime.
Right. Look up black limes. You can buy them at specialty food stores. It's a very intense citrusy character compared to a normal green lime.
Now, Sam, I know we're going to get into it later, but you guys distribute. Is that available in stores locally and throughout the country?
Yeah, and I got to say, it's been a big part of our national core beer, day in, day out, 365-day-a-year sales. Sea Quench kind of right behind our continual hopped IPAs and our Grateful Dead beers. This is right up there. But people, you guys are hearing it first on this podcast. We're going to pause on producing Sea Quench here later this fall, because we're going to make it our summer seasonal next year. So I recommend your viewers and listeners go find Sequence where they can, because we're going to take it out of the market to build more excitement for it when it comes back out, late June next year.
That's a great idea.
All right.
What about you guys? You guys drinking anything today?
Lou, you got something?
I have what I normally have, water, high quality H2O. It's great for the body, refreshing and nourishing. But I do also have cucumbers from my garden and strawberry syrup from my garden in my water.
Ooh.
So cheers to Farmer Andy over here.
Fancy water.
Who's Farmer Andy? Is that you? You the farmer?
That's me. I'm Farmer Andy.
Okay.
I have different monikers everywhere.
Why
I go.
Andy?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, my middle name is Andrew.
Oh, you know what? I'm today years old, and I did not know that.
Oh, there you go.
No,
there you go. It's
knew
only
that,
been
but
20 some years.
I never heard the Andy part.
Yeah, I just started farming this summer.
Oh, so Andy is part of that persona. Gotcha.
Exactly.
That's stupid.
All right. You drinking on something?
Nope, water.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
That sounds refreshing. Refreshingly whack. No,
It's water time. It's water time.
What about you, Rob?
Get my H2O in.
I'm actually,
Rob, what you got?
I actually am drinking on a Dogfish Head. It
All
is a India Brown Ale.
All right.
I didn't realize it was 7.2% though. So
Giddy up.
Here we go, host. There you go, host.
because I also have
Crazy.
my Namaste as well. So but now that I see that 7.2, I think I only just need the one.
This one.
I just need the one. It's well, like I said, it's a dark India Pale Ale. It's 7.2%. It's refreshing. It's a limited release. It says. How limited is this release?
Yeah, we used to brew that one year round. We started brewing that one in 1996, I think. So over 30 years ago. And it was kind of one of the first dark IPAs or black IPAs in America. That was not really a category when we started making it. So we're really proud of that being a pioneering super dark, super hoppy beer.
All right.
And now, like you said, it's very limited edition. We do it once a year. So I'm glad to see you got that in your hands.
Yeah, I got it out the.
Sam, when you do that once a year, is it how many cases, how many barrels? What's once a year?
Yeah. So for us, that one is on our 200 barrel brew house. So and we only do a single batch of it. So with losses, that probably yields about 2,300 cases. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Very limited.
Yeah.
edition.
For us, it's less than 1% of our annual volume.
For sure.
Yeah, I got it up the past the aux pack. So there.
Oh, good.
There it
Yeah,
is.
the music summer pack. Sweet.
Yeah. All right, and I did taste this. So I'm gonna say, pass me another for this. Yeah, because it is cool. I like a good brown ale, an IPA. It's not as bitter as I would think. When you think of IPAs, you think bitterness, and it's actually pretty smooth. So there's that. So if you are interested in trying it out, and it's back on the shelves for a little limited time.
Yeah.
So
Rob, that's something I would will enjoy, my type of IPA.
well, it's not super sweet though. So it's not sweet.
No, I don't gotta always be sweet. It just can't be IPA.
Yeah, it's not like a hop bomb. No, it's not like
Traditional.
I'm gonna punch you in the face with hops like that. No. So you probably
I don't like getting punched in the face by my beer.
Yeah.
all right, since it's just me and Sam drinking on something.
I mean, we drinking. It's just not alcoholic.
Yeah, sure.
And all four of us are drinking water. We
Right.
say this every week.
I ain't drinking water today. I'm going straight beer all day.
It's water. A lot of water in that beer.
That's
Yeah,
true.
there's water in it.
Yeah, I guess. You got me.
Yeah, I did.
All right. Well, everybody's drinking on something. So once again, we want to thank Sam Calagione for coming on the podcast. And we want to welcome you. And the proverbial floor is yours.
Well, just want to start off to say congratulations to you guys. I believe this is episode 320 27 of Brewsing Banner, and that's a pretty awesome accomplishment. So thank you guys for getting the word out about indie craft beer in and around the sort of Delmarva community where we all get to live. So thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, congratulations to you as well, because you just
Yes,
were
sir.
inducted
Thank
into
you.
the Craft Beer Hall of Fame, correct? In March.
Yes.
Yeah. So very proud. It was started out from beer writers in Chicago, and I think they got a board of directors from around the country. But I'm in the second class myself. My good buddy Garrett Oliver, the brewmaster from Brooklyn, we're in the second class. So it's only been around 2 years. In the first class was folks like Ken Grossman, who started Sierra Nevada, my compatriot Jim Cook, who started Sam Adams. So I'm in rarefied company and very proud that I got into that group this year.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's so. Well, since we're talking about that, looking at 30 years ago, like, did you think that you would be there would even be a craft beer Hall of Fame?
I did not. I didn't even know if there'd be a craft beer industry. It got pretty shaky there for a while. So I've kind of lived through two shakeout periods when demand for craft beer was over eclipsed by supply, and it made for some hard years. And even right now, craft beer is not growing in America. We've dropped from the highest number of breweries in the country at 10,000 maybe 2 years ago down to like 9,500. So it's definitely challenging times again, but good beer rises to the top and great breweries rise to the top. And there are a lot of breweries that are kicking ass and doing well, even in these challenging times. I'm proud to say Dogfish is one of them.
Nice.
So Sam, take us all the way back to like the beginning of before the brewery even started. Like, how did you fall in love with craft beer, and how did that lead to you starting the brewery?
Yeah, and I'd love to hear like what each of your sort of epiphany beers were when you got into good craft beer too. But I graduated from college, went to a little school right up the road from Delaware called Muhlenberg College in the Allentown, PA. And I was an English major, and the day I graduated, I got my piece of crap pickup truck and drove to New York City and lived on the Upper West Side, 111th and Broadway near Columbia. And it was taking classes thinking of trying to get my MFA in creative writing at Columbia, but to earn my rent money, I got a job at a bar across the street from Columbia. I just walked in, got a job, didn't know it was a great craft beer bar, but it ended up being, it was called Nacho Mama's Burritos, which doesn't sound like much of a craft beer bar, but the owner was only 2 or 3 years older than me, and he got into really good beer. And right out of the gates, we were serving beers like Chimay and DuPont and Brooklyn and Sam Adams, Sierra Nevada. So like my shift drinks, once I had Sierra Nevada Celebration, I was just like, holy crap! I didn't realize beer could have this much intensity and flavor. I fell in love with beer working there, and stopped trying to write the great American novel at Columbia, and started writing the business plan for Dogfish Head.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you still think you have a great
That's
American novel in there, though?
surprisingly
Do you still you still?
Shit, I don't know. I mean, I've written, I think, 4 books, and I've co-authored a couple books. So I get to scratch that sort of journalism itch, but I write more about brewing and business than I do fiction these days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What kind of fiction was it
that I loved? I mean, let's see.
That you would if you would, because I figure like if you would have went to like the post office and got an internship there, you probably would have got your master's. You probably would have got your writing degree. So what would you be writing if you were a writer?
Good question. I mean, I'd say I wanted to go to Columbia because of like the beats, that like Kerouac went through that program. Allen Ginsberg went through that program. So the beat writers were big inspiration for me. The Transcendentalist, I'm sitting here at my desk and I got a Thoreau book next to me. Let's see what else. I've got a Hemingway book next to me. What else do I have here? I got a Warhol book next to me. And I got
all over the place.
Bob Dylan book next to me. So yeah, I'd say poetry and music in literature are probably my greatest reference points.
Gotcha.
Well, I guess you also scratch that as well too, with because you write an article for Cream magazine, right?
I write about music. I've written articles in Cream magazine. I got a quarterly column in Cream, and I just got to write a an article for Rolling Stone for their a big summer issue, which was super cool to see my bylaw in Rolling Stone magazine, which I read growing up. And the next one in the bylaw was Obama, who wrote an article in that same issue. I was pretty proud to be in that company.
That's awesome.
A real Renaissance man.
We're 1 degree of separation from Obama right now.
And here's another. I got one other fun brewing Obama story. I got Michelle Obama's like the guy that ran her kitchen when they were living in the West Wing, was this other guy named Sam, and he was big on children's nutrition, and he was a big Dogfish fan. He invited my wife Mariah and I to go to see his homebrew setup in the West Wing. That the Obamas would drink the homebrew that he made, and I got to go in there and do that. And then when we got to tour the whole grounds of the White House, they took us through Michelle Obama's herb garden. I said, "Hey, Sam, do you mind if you turn your back for a second? I just want to pick a few things." And so I got some parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme out of Michelle Obama's garden. I made a beer called Saison de Buff with it, using her herbs with my friends from Stone Brewery and Victory Brewing. So that was the closest I ever got to the Obamas, was hanging out in their garden.
That's crazy.
That's awesome. That's a great story. That's a great one.
That's much closer than we got. Still like.
Right. You're still closer than we, for sure.
What was each of yours? What was each year's epiphany beers? What was a beer that got you and each of you in a craft beer?
I always say it was Blue Moon, but actually I think it was actually Blue Moon actually started the thing. Like, oh, well, I didn't know I didn't know beer could have flavor.
Yeah,
I think I was used to like Bud Light, Miller Lite, but then I think it was also Yard's Brawler was the one that really said, I'm really like craft beer for real now.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
I think
it was.
I didn't like craft beer until I started this podcast. Yeah. Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead, Yoda. Finish.
Yeah. I think mine was Blue Moon because of Rob. Because Rob had Blue Moon one day and I tasted it and I'm like, this ain't bad.
Nice.
So here we are.
You know?
Right. So I think, so it was that. I think that started the journey.
Tim, do you feel like you're right?
So what?
No, I was just going to ask if you feel like some of the things that your writing mind, does that play into your beer mind as well when it comes up with some of like the beer names or ingredients?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely. I mean, any building of a brand, is really just a different way of talking about storytelling. Trying to write compelling stories using creative language is the same whether you're trying to write a beer recipe and make that compelling and creative, or trying to write, a sonnet or a poem. They're very, very similar. And so I really enjoyed the opportunity I've had for 32 years running Dogfish with my coworkers. So many of them are so much better at like the science part of our brewing or the bookkeeping, accounting, mathematical part of our business. But what I'm still pretty good at is the creative, coming up with recipe concepts, writing the slogans for the beers, coming up with concepts for events. So that's what I really enjoy the most, is the creativity that we get to express through the art of brewing.
All right. So how did you land on Dogfish Head?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yep.
I think it just froze, but we can still hear you.
I can now.
Yeah, we can hear you.
There you go. I can hear you guys again.
All right.
Good.
Now, so my question was like, how did Dogfish Head become a name? Like, is there a short story somewhere where this kind of started out? Like you wrote a short story about Dogfish Head?
No. So like I said, I was an English major in high school and in college. And my wife was from Milford, Delaware. She grew up in coastal, rural, like southern Delaware, and but I grew up in Western Mass. I was born in New York City, but my parents moved to Western Massachusetts when I was a little boy. And so I grew up right down the road from this high school that also had boarding students. And my wife, who's from Milford, Delaware, happened to be a boarding student at this high school up there that I was a day student at. And we started dating and went to separate colleges, but kept dating. And during our college years, we waited tables and bartended down in Rehoboth Beach. And that's how I fell in love with coastal Delaware. And then I was writing my business plan while I was living in New York City. And I went for a jog with my father up here in Maine. He's like, "Hey, Sam, how you liking your courses at Columbia?" And he was paying for them. I was like, "Oh, shit, Dad, I kind of stopped going to my classes. Sorry about that." He's like, "What do you mean you stopped going to your classes?" I was like, "Well, instead of going to Columbia, I just every morning I walk over to the New York City Public Library and I'm working on a business plan to open a brewery." And he's jogging and he's quiet for a second. I could see him thinking about it. And he looks up and points at the sign and he goes, "Dogfish Head would be a good name for a brewery," because that was the road that we would always jog on up here. I was like, "Oh shit, that's actually right. That is a good name." So in that one sentence, I kind of got my dad's approval to go on this journey and the name of our brewery. So that's where it comes from. And I like the fact that not many people think of it as a geography. More people have heard of like Hilton Head in the Carolinas, but I'm looking out right now on Dogfish Head. It's this point of land in coastal Maine that you can see out here out my office window. So it means something, geographic to me, but I love that the way the name is just kind of three random words kind of put together in a creative, whimsical way, because I think that's what our recipes kind of aspire to be, is creative and whimsical and unexpected.
Okay.
I love that. I love that. So organic too. Instead of Dad cussing you out for wasting his money.
Yeah, he embraced it.
Right. Like 2 minutes later. Right. 2 minutes later, you got the name of the
Exactly. Awesome. It was a special day for sure.
Now, was he an entrepreneur too? Because it seemed like he already had that entrepreneurial spirit to say like, all right.
Yeah, he was the first guy in his generation of his family, second generation Italian. He was the first to go to college, and then he became a tooth doctor. And then he in Western Mass, he opened up a group of 5 oral surgeon offices. So he oversaw the business, but was still a doctor, and built a staff up. So he was kind of both an entrepreneur and a doctor. And then my mom was a special ed teacher, and she's the one who taught me to love reading and painting and the creative side of what I do. And my dad kind of taught me the business side. So I was very fortunate. Both parents with sort of complementary superpowers that informed what I did with my life.
Yeah, that's dope.
I like tooth doctor.
You don't see that on a sign enough, do you?
Yeah, not at all. But they should start calling themselves that.
It sounds friendlier than oral surgeon.
Yes, it does.
Now another question I think I seem to get a lot of time. Well, some questions that people always ask, like with Dogfish being one of the more iconic brands now in craft beer. How did it end up staying in Delaware when you could have went to Philly, Denver? Like, how did it stay in Delaware?
Yeah,
for 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, people are always like amazed that we're making hundreds of thousands of barrels, over 1 million cases of beer in rural coastal Delaware, and that they're like, your state doesn't even have a big city in it, and that's true. It's a small state, but it's actually an awesome place to live and work and distribute, a high-end product from, because I get to live at the beach, and I don't have to get dressed up for anything. I can commute 10 minutes to be at work from my house to the brewery, but that brewery is just 2 hours drive from DC, Baltimore, Philly, 3-hour drive to Manhattan, 3.5 maybe. And so we can hit all these awesome cities and be considered one of the local breweries in all these awesome cities, but we get to live at the beach. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. But part of your question, but I will say, the scale of Dogfish Heads certainly kind of exceeded my wildest, imagination. And when I drive into the brewery in Milton, I see those 1,200 barrel tanks that, one tank at our brewery now, the biggest ones, holds more beer than we made our entire first 3 years that we were in business, is the scale of one of these massive tanks now. And that's surreal for me, but it still feels natural and right because those tanks aren't just filled with 60-minute IPA, which is our best-selling beer, which we're proud of. They might be filled with pumpkin ale or sea quench ale or the Grateful Dead beer. So we were able to grow without having to become this, thing that a company just focused on one widget and one product. We still get to, be creative and do a lot of different things at scale. Even though we've been able to scale, we've kept the creativity, top of mind in what we do every week.
Nice.
Let me ask you this though. Like, do you think that Delaware, like being in Delaware, inspires any of the specifically inspires the beers versus if you guys were somewhere else?
I think it allowed us to be really experimental in the 90s when frankly not a lot of commercial breweries in the big cities were being that experimental. I'd go to a beer fest up in Philly or Baltimore, and I'd have like our chicory stout made with coffee and chicory and licorice root, and the city beer geeks would get all mad at me. Why'd you put coffee in a beer? That's not respecting tradition and da 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 da. So I think by being in the first brewery in the first state, we had a lot of latitude from the locals that would come in and be like, oh, okay, what are you making? Oh, okay. They didn't come in with sort of the snobbery of the big city craft beer, aficionados that existed before Dogfish Head opened. So they really nurtured and supported our desire to color outside the lines and bring non-traditional ingredients into the brewer's art.
So are you saying that y'all created the local snobs that are out there now?
I always say the craft beer community is 99% asshole free, but that still means there's going to be a few assholes out there, right?
Now, with you being like, when people see you now, compared to, I guess, 30 years ago, now it's like, oh, snap, Sam's here. When they see you like at beer festival and stuff like that, do you get a chance to really sit down and like brew nowadays, or do you have to just always be on the go?
No, I have a little brewing 1-barrel system up here in Maine, and then we have like a 5-barrel and a 7-barrel small brewing systems at our pub in Rehoboth and our Brig Brewery in Milton. That's the scale that I can still get down with. I don't have the technical skills to brew on our bigger brewing systems. We have so many amazing brewers at our company that know how to run the big equipment. So I still play around with our brewers and distillers on small scale batches. And then we kind of let customers decide from the feedback and social media. My wife, Mariah, did an amazing job growing Dogfish Head social media. And we just listen to what people are saying online or when they come into our locations. And that determines which of those small experimental batches get scaled up and distributed widely the next year. So it's kind of a really organic practice, almost like farm leagues in baseball. The small brewing systems at Dogfish are kind of like the Bull Durham, equivalent. And sometimes something comes out of that little world and swings for the fences and makes it to the big leagues, like sea quench ale. We didn't know if people coast to coast would want a beer with sea salt, black limes, and lime juice in it. We did it in small batches, and people dug it, and then we started distributing it nationally. So that we have a very sort of grassroots way of bringing new beers and spirits to market.
All right. So with you being so you like music so much, like how has that influenced Dogfish over the years? Like even in terms of in '95, what was your playlist if you were to brew in '95? What was on your playlist then, and what was on your playlist now in 2026?
Oh, that's an awesome question. I'm even going to kind of go back further to when I fell in love with good music, because it's like I'm so proud that I was born in New York City. I was born in Queens, like one neighborhood away from Run DMC. But my parents moved me out of New York when I was 2 years old. But I still am like, I'm from New York, and I live out in rural Massachusetts, right? And it's a pretty homogenous, pretty kind of white population out there. But what was really cool is in Western Mass, I could, in the middle of the night, have my little boombox on in the early 80s when I was growing up, and I could go on the dial and find the campus station for University of Massachusetts or the campus station for Williams College, Smith College. So that area in Western Mass had all these colleges that had all these indie stations, and I might hear, two guys from the Bronx doing a hip hop show on the UMass station, and then I go around the dial and I'd hear like a punk rock show from these ladies at Smith College. So I really fell in love with good music by just twisting the dial out there in the sticks of Western Mass, and that's where I discovered especially hip hop and punk, and those are sort of the two genres that kind of informed my musical journey the most. And it's pretty interesting that both that punk, hip hop, and craft beer kind of all took off at the same time and in a similar ways. All three of those American art forms kind of came from the margins and the outside, and then they became the mainstream, not because Wall Street or Madison Avenue forced it on the public. Those are three art forms that people found and discovered and brought them into the mainstream. So I always look at the punk and hip hop worlds as inspirations for what we can do as craft brewers, for sure.
Nice.
And then you ask playlists. I'd say, okay, so playlist 95. When we opened, I was probably listening to a lot of the Replacements, punk band, the Minutemen, Sonic Youth, and then maybe from the hip hop side. Back then, still a lot of Run DMC, Eric B. Rakim, Deltron 3030, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, Dan the Automator, De La Soul is big for me back then. So those are some of my musical heroes.
Okay. How did it change? How did it change in 2026? What do you listen to now?
Okay, so now let's see. On the hip hop side, I like Earl Sweatshirt a lot. I've been listening to a lot of his stuff. Tyler the Creator, so they did a lot of work together in Odd Future. Let's see, on the punk thing, I'm listening to a band out of England called The Clientele. I really like them a lot. Bell and Sebastian, Fountains DC. So yeah, mostly stick with the same genres, but always looking for. I start every morning kind of going to the music websites and reading the reviews of what was released that week, and that's how I decide what I'm going to listen to either on my bike ride or my paddle board. I try to either take a bike ride or paddle for an hour every day. So I say I work out for 60 minutes to earn my calories to drink 60 minutes later that night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of 60-minute, how did that go from? Did it happen that organic way that you talked about your beers? Was it like a 2-barrel system that jumped into what it is today? Like, how did it become so popular?
Yeah, it did. It was gradual. It doesn't seem like it today, where I think every other beer that someone drinks from Dogfish is 60 minutes, about half of our volume. But
wow,
a lot of people don't know that actually 60 minute didn't come out until 2 years after 90 minute. And so we brewed this beer called 90 minute back before. It was the first beer in America to have the word Imperial on an IPA label. Like a lot of people think, Imperial IPA, they're from England, because Imperial Stouts did come from England from over 100 years ago. But Imperial IPAs are a wholly American invention. No one called that before American brewers. And the 90 minute.
Hold on, Sam. Is it an invention that you guys invented?
Well, we were the first to put the word Imperial on a label. I'm not claiming that maybe some other brewery brewed one and called it that somewhere else, but I think we were the first to put it on a label. And that label had a photograph that I found of a circus freak hammering a nail into his nose violently. And so people are the hardcore brewers in Philly and DC, Baltimore started calling Dogfish the one and done brewing company because we were selling this 9% Imperial IPA in a giant champagne bottle. And they're like, no one's going to ever drink more than one of those. Are you crazy? And so people fell in love with that, but they were right. It's pretty strong. So that's what convinced us to come out with a lower ABV version of that called 60 minute, because 90 minutes 9% alcohol and 60 minutes 6%. So we released 60 minute 2 years after we released 90 minute, and it became a runaway hit. So much so is that when our distributors would order a truck full of beer, we would force them to take only 50% of the full truck of 60 minute. We would go into every truck and look at it and say, no truck can be more than 50% green boxes. You have to order other stuff because we didn't want to turn into the 60-minute brewing company. We love 60-minute, but we wanted to show off.
Wow,
We wanted to show off kind of the diversity of what we can make as brewers. So
That's a
so
great
we
idea.
still work hard to make sure people get excited about everything we do, not just 60-minute.
How did you land on 50%?
I just felt like half. It's easy to kind of visually figure out half of a truck in pallets. There's nothing more scientific than that.
Yeah, that's simple enough. To visualize that in the truck. Nope, move that around. That's not right.
Now the overall visual brand of Dogfish has been pretty consistent throughout the years. Like, who came up with that imagery? Was that you as well?
Yeah, I came up with our shark and shield logo. I drew that when I was writing the business plan, and I came up with the doggy font, our unique font. But it was kind of like necessity is the mother of invention. So I couldn't afford designers and stuff, graphic designers and artists on our payroll for about 10 years. So I did kind of all the design stuff as we started. But once we kind of hit some financial, strength, and we knew we were going to be around for a while, then we found awesome artists to join us on our journey. And we probably have 4 people in our design world now. And I'm still very involved, with approving the artwork, and occasionally, like I'm right now working on some art here for Art Forum magazine. So I still get to pull out my pens and paints and watercolors and do some Dogfish art, but there's now way more talented people than me doing it day in, day out at the company.
All right.
You do a lot of shit.
Yeah. You would think as big as Sam is in the industry that he wouldn't be doing the stuff that he was doing when he first started. Like, you're doing the same things that you were doing when you first started. On the same small scale too. Like, I'm doing my watercolors, I'm doing my 5-barrel. I'm not getting no bigger than that. That's
I'm
amazing.
pretty lucky. I know I'm lucky. I don't take that for granted.
Now, Sam, you mentioned that it took you 10 years to get a graphic artist. Would you say that's when you felt the brewery was stable enough to have made it and be self-sufficient, or was it before or after that?
That's a great question. I do kind of tie like a moment in time to where it felt like, instead of the headwinds of being a young startup company and holy shit, are we going to go out of business, shifted to being tailwinds of holy crap, people really like what we're making. Now we just got to figure out how to keep up. And that all started right around the turn of the century, like around 2000, because in 1999, that was the year we came out with both 90-minute IPA and Midas Touch, which was our first ancient ale that got like a ton of national publicity, People Magazine, Today Show, So that was kind of a tipping point for us. Once those 2 beers were in market, all of a sudden it coincided with things like Rate Beer and Beer Advocate, the first real wet beer websites that really took off around 2000. Were perfectly coincided when Dogfish had all this national love. And so it meant that all of a sudden these beer lovers from around the country started asking their local supermarket in, Madison, Wisconsin or Portland, Oregon for 90-minute. And suddenly we had these opportunities to sell beer all over the country. So that was really the moment where we kind of took off right around 2000. And my wife, Mariah, was really early to the internet. And that was the era when all the first social platforms were starting to go off. And she was really part of those conversations with the Dogfish brand that really helped make us seem like a bigger brewery than we even were at that time.
Speaking of Mariah, now she's a co-founder. Like, when you approached her with the idea that you was like, who did you approach her and say, "Hey, I want to open a brewery"? Like, how did that conversation go? Did she say, like, Field of Dreams? Because y'all are we just watched Field of Dreams, and the wife was like, "You sound a little crazy, but I'll let you do it." Kind of like that.
And were y'all on a long distance at this time? Was she in New York with you?
She came in and worked in that bar, Nacho Mamas, with me one summer because she was 1 year younger than me in high school and college. So she still had one more year to go through, but she spent one summer up there in New York with me and worked at that same beer bar. But Mariah's, your question of how'd she react, I was lucky that her dad was an entrepreneur too. And so she grew up in a household. Her dad, this amazing Delaware businessman that I know a lot of your listeners have probably heard of. His name's Thomas Draper, and he started with one rock and roll radio station near Milford, Delaware, and he would ride around his beat up car every day trying to get businesses to do ads on his radio show. And then at night he'd be the DJ. So he kind of did it all, raised the money for the ads, and then was the DJ. And then he grew that and eventually bought WBOC, the television station in Salisbury. So he has the CBS affiliate, Fox affiliate, Telemundo affiliate for our area, and his family and his kids, including Mariah, still own and are on the board and run that company. So Mariah grew up in a household where the dad wasn't in a normal 9-to-5 job and was out doing all these crazy things. So she was not surprised when I said, this is what I want to do with my life. And she kept her job at the TV station when I opened Dogfish Head in Rehoboth, because we needed insurance, and I couldn't afford insurance as a startup entrepreneur. So she stayed and worked at her dad's station and just like hostessed and bussed at our brew pub, bus tables for about 2 years before she came over full time and worked with me in '97. So it's definitely been a mom and pop journey the whole way. And she had to do all the jobs that I sucked at when we started. She did the books, she did HR, and so she had it harder than me, because I got to do the stuff I was passionate about, and she got to do the stuff we had to do to stay in business.
So she built a machine where you put the creativity on top of it, but the actual running of the business was
right.
Right.
I got
So let me ask you this: being in the industry so long, like, have you seen a difference? Like, or what's your thoughts on the diversity of craft beer at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's.
Like, have you seen a change?
Yeah, I'd say it's getting better, but not quickly enough. And I think it got better. Like when I would go to big beer conferences 25 years ago, there'd be not only no people of color, but like no women. At the distributor level, there was hardly ever women that made it into executive roles. So I think we saw women, and our company has always been pretty much equally men and women. But I think we saw an acceleration, of people of color entering the industry about 10 years ago. And I mentioned Garrett Oliver from Brooklyn is certainly one of the pioneers and has all the rightful respect that he does. And he worked with we have a mutual friend, Michael Jackson, the beer writer from England who died, but he was really the OG, modern beer writer that got major publications and TV shows to talk about all these diverse beer styles from around the world. And he was a big proponent of getting more people of color into our industry. And so with Garrett's blessing, Garrett started the Michael Jackson Foundation, and Mariah and I give substantially to that group. And it's all about giving people of color educational opportunities in the brewing and distilling field so that they can take courses to learn how to brew and distill. And I know a lot of graduates of that program that have gone on to start their own breweries or work at breweries. So I see it accelerating. There's now a National Black Brewers Association that is gaining momentum, but it's not where we would hope it would be. But I'm seeing it get better every day. What about you guys in your journey? Are you seeing more diversity from your perspective come into the craft beer world?
Well, we talked to a lot of them, but so it's hard for us to really gauge because we know them personally. So, but we do in terms of producers, probably yes. Now, consumers, it's still an interesting dynamic, but we see more producers. I mean, it's still small in comparison of the overall craft beer industry, because I think it's still like 1% over. If it's 10,000 breweries and 1%, that's not very many.
Yeah.
So, but
like 100.
But so you do still see some. There's obviously work to do, but with the Michael Jackson Foundation, you see more people of color coming into the industry and starting on their journey, even if it's just being a brewer somewhere else or actually starting their own beer brand. So you do see that.
Yeah. I know a big part of the mission of the National Black Brewers Association is giving people of color a pathway to own their own brewery. So it's not just about getting into the industry, but the opportunity for ownership is something they have their attention and their eye on, which I think is really, really smart.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because it's a lot of, I mean, being an entrepreneur is one hard in itself. And then being a Black entrepreneur sometimes is a little shaky itself too. But then with it also being the craft beer industry, it gets a little shaky because the craft beer industry is kind of shaky. And so I feel like that's the reason why a lot of people of color may want to get into it, but they don't want to actually put their foot in that much, because even just the craft beer industry in itself is still kind of on that up and down. Like even we went to Berlin Flow last weekend, and I noticed that there were a lot of people there that weren't just doing craft beer. A lot of people had craft drinks, like they were doing like cocktails, like ready to drink cocktail type things now, instead of just doing craft beer. So it's like I see where the fear comes from a little bit of jumping into that industry.
Yeah, and it's getting more and more welcome, but it's also, like we said, not growing. And to your point, a lot of entrepreneurs at the heart are David's up against Goliath, just definitively. When you're an entrepreneur, you're small and up against the bigger guys. And so when craft beer is not growing, a lot of people that got into craft beer and opened their breweries saw that they couldn't pay their bills with just craft beer and opened up, whether it's to do seltzer or cider or ready to drink spirits. Like for Dogfish Head, next year will be the 32nd anniversary of our brewery, but it'll be the quarter century, 25th anniversary of Dogfish Head Distillery. So we started making cocktails and gins and rums and vodkas a quarter century ago. And right now, for instance, our Dogfish Head canned cocktails on a smaller base are growing faster than our Dogfish Head beers. So we embrace the fact that these entrepreneurial beverage companies are doing other creative things, not just craft beer. And hopefully the consumers of craft beer accept that as well.
So did you already see that as an opportunity? Because was that written in your business plan to say, hey, let's have a distillery too? Like, how did you? Because if you said 32 and 25, that's not that far a difference.
I know.
No, it's not.
In the craft seltzers popped off, it feels like 4 or 5 years ago. So you've been doing it 30 extra years.
Yeah. No, I mean, when I wrote the Dogfish business plan, it said brewery inside of a restaurant, but that would also distribute outside of that restaurant. So it was more culinary creativity and brewing beer creativity was the foundation of the business plan. But then I was the only truck driver, 26 years ago for Dogfish, and I was driving home from dropping beer off in DC, and I went by this place called Billy Warren's Scrapyard, which is like on 404 inland Delaware. And I saw this piece of scrap metal that had the exact shape of a distilling pot still, like a whiskey still. And so I pulled into the scrapyard and I bought this cone-shaped food-grade stainless steel 150-gallon capacity cone that must have come from the poultry industry or the dairy industry. And I bought it for scrap value. And then me and my coworkers kind of MacGyvered a working distillery out of it and just built this thing out of like pots and pans in the corner of our brewery and got one of the first craft distilling license in the country, because our thought was, hey, we've brought all these unexpected culinary ingredients into the beer world: pumpkins, black limes, chicory, coffee, raisins. Why can't we bring that stuff into the distilling world too? So right out of the gates, we were making rums with local apiary Delaware honey, and we were making gin using hops in addition to juniper and different kinds of fruit peels. So the distilling journey was very similar for us in the creativity of craft beer, but we didn't start with that dream of opening the distillery. It came a little bit later.
So adding all these different ingredients in your beer from the beginning, was that your hip hop and punk nature taking over? Like, hey, we're gonna do whatever we want to do with our beer. Is that kind of where it came from?
Definitely. As Rage Against the Machine said, "F you, I won't do what you tell me." So the instinct was kind of to say "F you" to the status quo. And so if beer was supposed to just be water, yeast, hops, and barley, we were like, nope, we're gonna add this, we're gonna do that. So that opportunity to rebel was definitely at the heart of what excited me most about opening an entrepreneurial small brewery.
Oh, all right. So now
I like that. This is good stuff.
Now you've done collabs. You did a Miles Davis collab as well, and also the Graceful Deal. How do you come up with who you work with in terms of musical artists and the collaboration with the beer?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's mostly, me reaching out to artists that I love, and having intentionally done a lot of work with musical publications to, if I don't know the artist directly, I can usually find them through my friends at the musical publications I either write for or we give our beer to events for. Sometimes it comes through, us reaching out, like the Miles Davis. I was a huge Miles fan. I knew the president of Sony Legacy. I was like, I know Bitches Brew is about to have its 40th anniversary. I read Miles's autobiography. It's one of my favorite books I've ever read. And I know he made this chili recipe. I want to brew a beer that's perfectly designed, that's going to be a fusion of a mead, a honey beer, like a Ethiopian tej, and an Inky Imperial Stout, because that album was a fusion of rock and jazz. So I brewed a fusion beer for that. And then, but after that, we got an email from Pearl Jam's manager and like, hey, Eddie loved what you did with Miles's beer. It's going to be the 10th anniversary of the album 10, their first album. They would love to do a beer with you. So sometimes it's me reaching out, and sometimes the artist finds us. So and our most, as you mentioned, our most like existentially, fruitful collaboration has been with the Grateful Dead, because we've done that for 12 years. But last year we finally got those beers into 12-ounce cans. They used to just be specially releases in big bottles, and that was our Dogfish Head Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale was the number one new innovation nationally last year in the whole craft beer segment. So we're really, really proud of that.
Because Deadheads are passionate about.
Okay, so when that Andre,
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, so when's that Andre 3000?
Oh, well,
when's that Andre 3000 collab coming out?
It's funny that you mentioned Andre 3000, because I don't know if we've announced it yet, but I'll share it on your podcast. But on August 26th, me and Big Boy, the other rapper in Outkast, are meeting in New York City, and Big Boy has a really cool foundation that rehabs pit bulls, and so that people can buy pit bulls that have been raised to be safe and happy household pets. So August 26th is National Dog Day, and myself and Big Boy are going to be in New York City, and we're judging what costumed dog owner dressed just like their dog looked the most alike. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. And you better believe I'm gonna ask him if we could do an Outkast collab when we're together in 2 weeks. Skankonia is a top 10 album for me for all of hip hop. So I'm a huge fan.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so what else besides the event in New York? What else does Dogfish have on the dock? Because I think there's something in Philly as well coming up.
That's right. So as you mentioned, I write for Cream magazine, which is CREEM, that became sort of the other national publication that, alongside Rolling Stone. They kind of came up together. I think Rolling Stone was a little bit before Cream. Rolling Stone started in San Francisco. Cream started in Detroit. Rolling Stone got more like political and movies and culture, but Cream always stayed focused 100% of their content on music, mostly punk and rock and metal. I would say are the genres they do the most with. And yes, through the 70s, they had a character called Boy Howdy, and it was a beer can, and they would show, rock and roll famous people, Joan Jett and, Gene Simmons from Kiss holding the Boy Howdy can, but it was never a real beer. And I reached out to them like 5 years ago and said, hey, we can make the Boy Howdy a real beer. And so, I think in a couple of weeks in Philly at this really cool venue, we're going to be doing the launch party of the Boy Howdy Cream Ale, and it is a cream ale that we brewed with them. So that's another exciting musical project. I also mentioned Rolling Stone. We just to give our distilling side of our business some props. We just released a beautiful overproof 90% alcohol whiskey, American whiskey with Rolling Stone magazine. So that's a really fun one to look for. You know, if you're listeners, it's for sale in Delaware at great retailers, but also you can come to any of our locations at Dogfish and buy the Dogfish Rolling Stone whiskey as well.
Now, the distillery is that only distributed in Delaware?
No, but you're right that it is way more limited distribution than the beer side of our business. So we sell our beer in all 50 states, but our foolproof spirits are only for sale kind of from Metro NYC down to Maryland, a little bit in DC, bigger in New Jersey, bigger in Delaware. So it has a much smaller footprint geography for distribution. Our canned cocktails that are made with our distilled spirits, those are distributed nationally, but not our foolproof spirits.
Gotcha. Because I know a young lady who owns a cidery in Youngstown, Ohio, who is really a fan of the rum.
All right.
So she told me next time I go to Dogfish to get her a bottle.
Oh, yeah. She sure did.
That's cool. I wonder if she does like a rum floater inside of her ciders and kind of combines them.
Maybe.
Or she just drinks it.
Could be that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I think that may be more personal use.
So I do have one final question for myself anyway. If you could pick one song for the 30 years since you're in the music, what would be the soundtrack or the song that really encapsulates what Dogfish is all about?
Well, that's a great question. I'm going to cheat because I see the poster behind my shoulder here. It's a Grateful Dead poster. It would be "What a Long, Strange Trip It's Been," the Grateful Dead. So it's like time flew by, but it was also so many like unexpected moments, both good and hard. Even the hard ones I loved and learned from. But you know, we kind of, we've kind of been putting the mental and experimental, and in the beer world, sort of the where in Delaware. For 31 years, and we're still enjoying the ride.
Nice. Yeah. All right.
Cheers to that.
Any more questions?
Y'all should have been documenting. You should have been documenting from the start, because this could have been make a good movie. I would have loved to see, like, back in the day, you having to drive a truck, all this stuff.
Yes, the truck driver's crazy.
This one time, my first delivery truck was just a Ford F-150 pickup truck, and I just put a tarp over all the beer kegs in the back so the cops couldn't see that I was going over state lines with kegs of beer. And this one time I was delivering, I was delivering to Kelly's Logan house up in Wilmington. I was going up a hill in Wilmington, and the top keg, I hit a bump, and the keg popped out of the tarp, hit the ground, and it pierced the keg open. And so this beer starts flying out of the keg, and I'm going up a hill, but the way the hole went in the keg, it actually made the keg beat me up the hill. It rolled up the hill, squirting beer, and rolled past my car up a hill. I was like, oh shit, I lost $100, but it was definitely worth it to see my truck get passed by a keg of beer, you know? We gotta put that scene in the movie.
So you're saying that?
Yes, absolutely.
So you're saying there is a movie in there. You said that there is a movie and that could be happening. All right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
I like that.
Well, I know I gotta get going. I gotta go see my mom's here up here. I told her I'd go visit her. But I've had a blast. This hour flew by, guys.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on. Before we go, we want to thank you. Everybody knows where they can find Dogfish Head beer from.
I think so.
I think so too.
And once again, we want to thank Sam Calagione for coming on the podcast. Until next time, I guess.
Have a good week, everyone.
You two guys.
Bye, everybody.
Pour it up, that's the last call. Women 10 to the world, yeah, we said it all. Rob Blue and Yoda 3 deep at the bar. Brewsing Banter, baby, you know who we are. From the hops to the bars to the box scores, talking culture like we did this 300 times before. Craft beer in the cup, hip hop in the soul. 302 to the phone settle, that's how we roll. No script, no filter, just the truth on tap. Lou bring the knowledge, Yoda bring the gap between what you thought and what you about to learn. Stay tuned, stay thirsty. thirsty till it's our turn. So pour it up, pour it out, till we meet again. Brewsing Banter, your favorite podcast. Cheers.